Hello, I'm going to be talking about Hollow Knight today. It's another game I'm playing in my quest to learn about good game mechanics and what not to do for the next Metroidvania that we're designing right now. This is one that I played when it first came out, which I think was 2017 or maybe it was 2016, I don't remember, but I remember I played it right when it came out, and no one had heard of it. There were no reviews, no impressions or anything like that. There was a Kickstarter, so it was a Kickstarter game, and I remember thinking it did not look very good visually, because at the time, I don't know what it was, but something didn't appeal to me, and I decided to play it anyway because I was starved for Metroidvanias. I'd played like everything on Steam, and this was just something else I had to play. Obviously, I ended up loving this game, just like everyone pretty much. My first profile, I beat it in 27 hours, 94%. I'm not even sure why I didn't 100% it, but I never went back and did all the extra content or anything like that. So I started a new game today, 25 minutes in. And yeah, from what I remember, the game controls pretty much perfectly. There's a bunch of things that I noticed that are different from, stuff like Escape from Tethys. Specifically how the character moves. So first of all, I took a couple notes, but I don't have them open right now. First of all, the movement, when you release the key, there is literally no sliding or anything like that. The character just instantly stops moving. There's a little animation for the head to go back, but in Escape from Tethys, I actually avoided doing this just because I felt like a little bit of inertia felt better. But actually, I think I prefer this because I'd prefer to give the player more control over their character. I think what's key here is that little animation that goes from walking back to standing, which makes it look a lot smoother than in EF2, which we originally had it, where you literally just, like, the animation would just instantly stop and you can go back to idle. So little tiny animation in between there, which makes it feel good. So the next thing that I noticed was jumping. Jumping feels totally different than the majority of other games. And I think someone compared it to I Want to Be the Guy, but basically you have complete control over your jump. And at first it feels kind of weird and floaty, but then you get used to it and it's just perfect. So the way it works is that you can jump, and you can jump at any height. You can literally stop your jump anywhere you want. When you stop, when you let go of the jump button, you instantly start falling again. It actually kind of looks weird. But there's this animation where... Let me try to... It's weird. The cape is actually like going back and forth in between a falling state and on the ground state. And it's actually blended really, really well in terms of where you are in the air. It feels really good. But anyway, so you have a ton of precision on your jump because you can just let go at any point. If you need to avoid an attack or anything like that, it's really easy to do so. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. The movement speed feels pretty nice. I actually think it feels like you move a little bit faster when you're jumping. I could totally be wrong about that, but it feels like you speed up a little bit when jumping. Again, I could totally be wrong. Moving left and right feels snappy. I like the animation in between to switch positions. There's that one frame where like his eyes are almost in the middle. Maybe there's not. Maybe I'm just imagining that. And there's actually, I think, less screen than Escape from Tethys. You've got a little bit of look ahead in terms of if you're moving to the right, you could see a little bit further to the right. And if you move to the left, you could see a tiny bit further to the left. But it's so minor that it's almost unnoticeable, right? Like, it's maybe an extra inch to the right or left. And then moving up and down also has a similar effect. But you can actually jump up to almost half the screen. Actually, you can jump up over half the screen. So it's a very, very, very high jump in terms of games. And of course, if we go to the combat, everyone knows that this is an awesome part of Hollow Knight, but you can swing in basically any direction. What I would describe the combat if I had one word to describe the combat, I'd say physicality. The weapon swings all have like this force and momentum to them. Now, when you're standing still, obviously it doesn't do anything. But if we go and fight someone down here, you can see you actually get knocked back slightly when you hit any enemy. When you get hit by an enemy, it actually pauses the time for a couple of frames, and then you get knocked backwards, I believe, in whichever way you're not facing. So if I go this way, no, never mind. Okay, so it's smart enough to know where I got hit from and then knock me back in the opposite direction, which is pretty cool. One thing that's really cool that I liked a lot is that you can kind of sword bounce on top of enemies. That feels really nice. There's a lot of flashy stuff going on every time you hit an enemy. Particles go flying everywhere, and it just feels really cool to hit stuff. I know the sound in this game is incredible, by the way. Like, whoever made it did a really great job. I really love this heal mechanic, and I kind of want to steal it, but maybe not necessarily. Because I definitely want to do some new stuff that hasn't been done before. Which is why I don't want to like carbon copy Hollow Knight. I actually have no idea where I'm going. Okay, so this is something else that I want to talk about. At the beginning, when I first played this game, when, like I said, no one knew what this was or if it was good or anything like that, I was actually kind of bored the first couple of hours. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that this game lacks direction very early on. I don't remember... Oh. Damn it. No! Oh, okay, I still have one hit. Cool. The fact that you can basically go through the entire game without finding any health upgrades, without finding any upgrades at all, and still come out on top is pretty cool. Sorry I didn't talk at all during that. That was pretty intense. So, yeah, when I first played it, it had no direction. And I was pretty bored after maybe like the first hour or so. And then I think it was around the time when I collected the first upgrade, which, spoilers, is I think a dash. Not supposed to go this way. And I remember after that it picked up a lot. The map was something that I think I really didn't like at first. And I still think I don't actually like that. I don't like the fact that you have to map things yourself. And you have to buy maps, or the fact that you have to equip a pin to see yourself on the map is kind of ridiculous. I'm not sure entirely why that needs to happen, but it is what it is. It still makes the game fun. It just means that you basically have one less notch slot all game, unless like you're a speedrunner and you know where everything is. Though, in fairness, later in the game, you don't really need it. Wow. Also, the maps are done in a really cool way. They're all hand-drawn and cut into different parts and enabled or disabled depending on where you are. I'm pretty sure they weren't like auto-generated or anything like that, which is a lot of work. I don't think actually coding a lot of it is that hard because... Well, technically you could just get some world coordinates and associate them with coordinates on the map and just display an icon there, so it's not really that bad. I do think that the game should have rewarded you with some kind of... I killed the first boss already, and it didn't give me anything. Actually, I'm sorry. It did give me that. The spell where it launches white stuff forward. So I guess that's okay. But everyone knows that in Metroidvania the most exciting thing to get are movement upgrades. So first ability as a movement upgrade is pretty huge. Although I guess in Escape from Tethys I didn't do that either. So who knows? The thing about movement upgrades is that you literally cannot have too many, or else your character will basically spend no time on the ground, which I realize is better for the most part, but sometimes you definitely need to keep the character grounded for parts of the game. So you can't have like infinite jumps or anything like that. One double jump is okay, but it's better if it's later in the game because it takes away a lot of the challenge of platforming sections that you've created. And Hollow Knight has tons and tons and tons of spike traps. Luckily they don't outright kill you, but they do teleport you backwards, which isn't that annoying. I don't even know where I'm going. I'm supposed to go to the left? Or up? Or down? Or right and down? I remember needing to go to the left. So it would have been nice, actually, in this game to get a brief summary of, like, what the goal is. I don't think it would have hurt it. I think it would have been... I personally like the style of storytelling where it's show, don't tell. I do think that there's a little bit too little storytelling at the very beginning of the game. Even like a couple sentences of like the knight goes to Hollow Nest to seek out, I don't know, whatever. To seek out purpose or whatever. Something like that would have been very nice. What else? Okay, so for combat, the biggest thing that I noticed with enemies is that every enemy, no matter how minor they are, reacts to getting hit in some sort of way. I feel like I'm supposed to go up and to the left. Maybe not, though. Maybe I'll go all the way to the right and then go down. So I definitely think that's something that I'm going to have to work on. And that is surprisingly a lot of work. It means that every single enemy needs to have actual physics behind it instead of have scripted movement. So for example, I can't have just a constant velocity on an enemy that just goes in one direction. I have to give it a rigid body and simulate getting hit. I mean, I guess you could technically fake it, but I'd rather have slightly more realistic reactions. I'm pretty sure they all have animations for getting hit too. The art in this game is just incredible. Blown away by it every time I see it. It looks so much better when you're playing it and to feel like how fluid it is and how everything's moving around. And I think videos don't really do it justice. I should heal up my health. Oops. So, like I said in the last video, we were trying to do research for Symphony of the Night because I wanted to make a game in that style. But once we realized how much work creating all the weapons and such would be, we were like, oh, okay, maybe let's do another Metroid-like. So we went back to the drawing board and came up with more like Hollow Knight. And what makes Hollow Knight great and all that junk. I'm actually super impressed with how this game was technically only really made by 3 people. 2 if you take out, I think the musician or something. Like, just the art alone is amazing. They might have gotten contractors. Because there is a lot of art. And it is all hand-drawn. So maybe it's not hand-drawn, maybe it's made in some kind of editor, but still, it's all really good. I have not been here. I feel like I'm supposed to be going to the left because I remember that green area, but and that's where you get dash. I can't remember exactly. It's funny, the enemies in this game are actually ridiculously simple. But at the same time, they're so much more interesting to fight because of how they're animated. It's how they react to attacks. How, kind of like a brawler... Is this a boss? Yes, it is. Ow. That couldn't have been it. Wow, that was it. That was really easy. Yeah, like I said, you knock enemies back a bit when you hit them. These enemies don't react at all. They just flash a little bit, and there's tons and tons of particle effects. But you actually move when you hit something. Even walls, you get moved back a little bit. Like, I'm not touching, I'm just jumping and hitting the attack button. And as you can see, I move back a little bit every single time I hit the wall. Interestingly, though, it doesn't do that everywhere. Like, you can't do that when you hit the ground here. It still keeps you falling. You don't get knocked up at all. I think on the ceiling... Maybe it does it on the ceiling. I can't really tell. By the way, bouncing on enemies like that is really fun. I think that's the guy that sells charms. But I don't remember. Oh, enter. Or if you wield your nail like a club. Esme, how much deeper do we have to go? Oh, what? Who are you? I see, this old village. What a strange dream to have led me down here. If you hadn't found me, I don't think I would have ever woken. I'm Sly. Usually I live an uneventful life up in Dirtmouth. The air in these ruins doesn't agree with me, so I'd best be getting back. If you return above, come and see me. I'm probably the friendliest face left there, and I can thank you properly for your good deed. Okay. One thing is that they kind of copied Dark Souls and people getting hollowed, which I'm okay with. Because the story and the setting in this game is just so original. Oops. I wonder if they actually have pathfinding in this game. It kind of seems like they do. That's something that I'm going to have to start looking into for the next game. I don't believe I can use this yet. Nope. Although I do have a key for something that I got from the first boss fight. Oops. The way the sound works when you get hit is like the greatest thing ever. The sound design in this game is just incredible. Everything sounds like you would think it should sound. I cannot go up here yet. Oh, wait, no, I can. That's right. That's something that's really cool. Bouncing on spikes with your sword is just awesome. Whoops. Almost do that. Anyway, those are my basic thoughts. I'm also playing Wizard of Legend. Might do a video on that one too. Yeah. Cool. Alright, so I will make another video later on. I'm going to play this a bit more. I don't think I'm going to play it through it entirely again, but stay tuned. We're just starting to draw out the player character for our next game. So very soon, hopefully, we will have a little prototype and I can start making videos about that. Alright, see you guys later.